I first met my future wife, Tatiana, when I was 24 years old and she was 20. After graduating from college, I worked as an assistant foreman at a construction site, while Tatiana pursued a career as a nurse. Our paths crossed through mutual acquaintances, and we quickly hit it off, leading to our marriage 6 months later. Initially, we lived in a 3-bedroom apartment with my mother. A year later, we welcomed our son Ton, followed by our daughter Masha 2 years after that. Those were tough times, especially during the challenging 90s. Jobs were scarce, and I had to rely on sporadic part-time work to get by. Tatiana, as a nurse, earned a meager salary. Nonetheless, we managed to survive as best as we could. Eventually, a former classmate invited me to join his team, constructing wooden baths, saunas, and gazebos. The workload was substantial, and the pay was satisfying. Our lives started to improve as we entered the 2000s. One day, my classmate proposed selling me his business, which I gladly accepted. From that point on, things began to look up. Tatiana resigned from her nursing job, underwent training, and became a beautician. I invested in several properties, allowing her to open a small beauty salon. As time passed, our children grew up and finished college. My son graduated from MGIO and pursued a career in another country, while my daughter graduated from the Institute of Foreign Languages and married a man who became my employee. They blessed us with a beloved grandson and later a granddaughter. Their lives are prosperous, and our son-in-law is a trustworthy and honorable man. Now, at 54 years old, I yearn to transition into a more relaxed lifestyle and fully enjoy my own pleasures. I have grown tired over the years and wish to live in the countryside, tending to a vegetable garden and focusing on raising my grandchildren. However, this is where the problem arises. Tatiana and I hold completely contrasting views on what constitutes a peaceful and cozy retirement. Please do not misunderstand, as I am simply weary of the hustle and bustle. Yet, my wife's life seems to be flourishing in her 50s. She has embarked on a journey of self-renewal, undertaking various rejuvenating measures. I've undergone so many cosmetic procedures on my face that I no longer recognize myself. Don't get me wrong, I still look pretty good and I make an effort to stay in shape. I just believe that having a sense of proportion is important in everything. However, my wife seems determined to defy the aging process. She wants to indulge in everything she couldn't afford during her youth and has asked me not to bother her about grandchildren or living in the countryside. I believe she is entitled to her desires, and I love her and want her to be happy. The only thing I managed to convince her to do was some renovations at our country house. She agreed, and soon enough, she found a designer, presented me with the plans, and a team of workers began the major renovations. 3 months later, my accountant handed me a payment request for a very large sum. I was shocked, but she explained that it was the amount my wife requested to pay for the designer's services as per the contract. I reluctantly signed the payment, but later I called my wife. Listen, Tanya, don't you think the amount charged by the designer doesn't match the work he actually did? Or did you find the most expensive designer in the entire city? I rudely remarked. My wife replied angrily, I didn't like what he did at all. And I told you that. Paying the whole crew would have been cheaper. It feels like we're paying him just for his looks. I should have done it myself. I responded rudely, and my wife promptly ended the call. Lately, our relationship has deteriorated as if we're living in separate worlds. She is completely absorbed in her own affairs, always busy. My daughter, son-in-law, and I have decided to spend the summer at the country house together. And as a final touch, I wanted to install video surveillance there to ensure the safety of my family. I discovered a company, and within a few days, everything was set up. All the cameras were linked, allowing me to monitor the situation at any given time. Eventually, my curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to see how everything was functioning. I connected to the recordings from my work computer. Little did I know what I was about to witness. To my surprise, I saw my wife, Tanya, engaging in activities at the dacha that excluded our whole family. With our skilled and expensive designer, they would regularly evaluate ongoing repairs multiple times a week. While Tanya knew the costs involved, she kept the specific details hidden, much to my delight. It was at that moment when I realized that my wife was deeply involved with this designer, who was nearly 20 years younger than her. I found it unbelievable. I spoke briefly with my wife, expressing my desire for her to find happiness in her personal life. At first, Tanya vehemently denied any involvement, but the camera footage forced her to confess. She admitted that they were deeply in love and that he was the love of her life. As I observed her, I couldn't help but think, women can be foolish, not because they lack intelligence, but because they are women. I chose to relocate to the countryside while still pursuing my beloved work. However, I plan to hand over the reins to my capable son-in-law in the near future. He is an exceptional professional, as I have personally trained him. Additionally, I trust him completely. Until recently, my ex-wife resided with this young man, but love was never present in their relationship. Furthermore, a month ago, my daughter informed me that he left her mother for a better option, an offspring of a local deputy, and she became pregnant with his child. My daughter also shared that her mother is full of regret and is seeking reconciliation, but her shame holds her back. To be honest, I am no longer invested in these matters. The children naturally should continue their relationship, but as for me, I have moved on.